Yes, I remember it as though it were yesterday and not but 2 and 3 days ago. It was July 1st, Monday, if I recall correctly. I woke at dawn, as I always have, and wrote a letter to Archibald Bullock. In the letter, I said that this morning is assigned the greatest debate of all. A declaration that these colonies are free and independent states, and today will determine its fate. I remember as I walked towards Independence Hall that it was dark and steamy, and thunderstorms were surely inevitable. I was hoping the weather wasn't any indication of today's outcome. The air was hot and stale inside Independence Hall, but most of us, thankfully, were not focused on the weather. At 10 o'clock, with the doors closed, John Hancock sounded the gavel. Richard Henry Lee's prior motion for calling for independence was read aloud. The Congress resolved itself into a committee of the whole and resumed consideration. Well, immediately, John Dickerson, gaunt and very pale, stood to be heard. And with great zeal and labour, he stood firm with past arguments of premature separation with Britain. In some sense, I suppose he, as with many others, were simply frightened at the possibility of losing this daring and dangerous gambit. After all, if we had lost to Britain, we would have been charged with treason, probably drawn and quartered, with our heads probably sent off to England, decayed as they might be, and then placed on one of the spikes on London Bridge. I am certainly thankful that that did not occur. After Dickerson, I stood up and took the floor. In my speech, I outlined in a positive and logical manner the outlook of a new nation and a new way of life and liberty. It was a long day, and at the end, Pennsylvania voted no, along with South Carolina. New York abstained, claiming they favored the motion but lacked the instructions. Delaware was divided and missing a delegate, and a rider was sent to find him. I began to think it was over, but Rutledge moved that a final vote be taken the next day. And the next day, it finally came to pass. Caesar Rodney had arrived riding 80 miles throughout the night just to cast his vote as a yea. With that, South Carolina also changed their vote to a yea. It was done. The die was cast. Although I was elated at the outcome, I also was aware of the toil and bloodshed that would follow. It was a bittersweet victory. I remember writing Abigail that July 2nd will be the most memorable epic in the history of America, and that it should be celebrated with games, food, sports, guns, bonfires, and illuminations. My only regrets? Well, I regret that there were things that we did not solve, and could not solve. And to this day, it pains me. We could not solve the injustices of slavery, and we did not include equal liberty for the ladies. Jefferson, in one of his first drafts, hinted at abolishing slavery. Unfortunately, there were no solutions to the problem. The southern states would simply never have voted for independence if their way of life was to be destroyed in the process. It was, sadly, economics. Jefferson and I had had this just discussion on several occasions, and unfortunately we had come to the same conclusion, that this injustice would have to be solved by future generations. And the ladies, you ask? Well, Abigail, in a letter, told me to remember the ladies. She stated that the women in this country would protest, and I wish they had. But again, I knew that this was also another problem that needed to be solved by future generations. I feel that God was on our side, and this is why we prevailed. God bless these United States of America.